So this segment is an easy-to-understand look at real legal issues that affect expats here in Korea. So we're chatting with you. I would love to know, what are we going to chat about today?
Yes, today I'd like to talk about the two recent building collapses in June that happened in the US and in Korea. Yeah, first you may remember five-story building under demolition process that collapsed in Hakdong, Gwangju. The building collapsed onto a bus and 8 people were injured and 9 lives were lost.
Yeah.
I'm deeply saddened by the loss that the victims and their families have encountered. My condolences.
Yeah, such a sad, sad tragedy. And then it happened again in the States, right?
Yes, only a few days later, there was another collapse in Florida, US.
Yeah.
This time, it was a condominium tower near Miami. The tower collapsed on June 24th, and this accident killed at least 28 people as of today, and 117 people are still unaccounted for.
Given the circumstances. And it's such a heartbreaking story. We are, however, going to look at the legal aspects in these accidents. My question is, if both accidents happened in Korea, tell us about the related laws that are in place.
Yes. In this case, the Act on Management of Building Units, which can be called 건축물 관리법, would regulate the various aspects of safe building management, such as regular inspection, safety measures, demolition, vacant building management. The act had been prepared from 2018, right after we experienced similar tragedies in Checheon and Miryang, and the law was legislated and became effective on May 1st, 2020, to strengthen safety measures when the people demolished the buildings. The act stipulates that one who wants to demolish the building shall report or obtain permission from the municipal government like 시, 군, 구 offices or like 시청, 군청, 구청.
Okay. So, there obviously has to be laws surrounding building demolition, everything to do with building. There has to be laws to protect not just the citizens, but also the organizations, etc., etc. But what you said there, people who want, or the people who want to, or the companies who want to demolish buildings, specifically demolish buildings, shall report to or obtain permission from a municipal government, like 시청, 군청, or 구청. What's the difference between those two? You said report and ask for permission. Is there a difference between those?
Yes. The word report in this act means like simply notify that we're going to demolish. So they just notify the demolition plan to the government. But on the other hand, permission means that if we submit the permission, like kind of application, then the government will scrutinize the case more carefully and give the permission only to the people like who is qualified to go through that process.
I
Yes.
see. Okay.
So according to the Act on Management of Building Units or 건축물 관리법, if the building is lower than 3 stories or 12 meters and total floor space is less than 500 square meters, the one who wants to demolish the building can just simply report to the government that I'm going to demolish this building when.
Okay.
But
Because
if
it's pretty small, right? It's a small floors, and that includes the basement. Does that include basement floors?
Yes, include the basement.
Okay, so a very low building.
But if
Okay.
it's larger or higher, then one has to get the permission from the municipal government before they initiate the demolition process.
Right, I see. Okay, so if we look at the case, for example, the Hakdong tragedy, it was a 5-story building. Am I right in saying that?
Yes.
5-story building. So the construction company must have gotten permission from the relevant local authority, the GU office or the city office, right?
Yes, exactly. To
Mm.
get permission of demolition of building units from KU office, the one who plans to demolish the building has to submit demolition plans or 해체 계획서 to KU
Mm.
office. And such plans will be reviewed by the certified architect or professional engineer or professional safety inspector before submission. So after the government reviewed a plan, they will also designate project supervisor or 감리자 to
Mhm.
oversee the whole process to make sure that everything is safe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, you need to go through all these very long and difficult processes. I think that's, of course, an incredibly important part of it. I'm curious, though, is this something that a lot of expats go through? I mean, do a lot of expats have this kind of experience? Because I can't imagine many expats demolish buildings or have buildings to demolish. Have you ever come across this case in your practice?
No, I've never seen it, but
Mm.
one thing what can be more like related to the expat would be some expats who work in the construction site
Mm-hmm.
or the
Mm-hmm.
demolition site.
I
Because
see.
if you are a victim of such collapse accident,
Mm-hmm.
like who can the victims hold liable for this type of accident in Korea? First would
Mm-hmm.
be that the workers who actually demolished the buildings or the subcontract construction company
Mm-hmm.
who hired the workers there.
Mm-hmm.
So like the victims can say, "Oh, you are the workers who like really worked at the site
Mm-hmm.
and you were negligent. You didn't like cover the site. You didn't put the sign
Mm-hmm.
to warn people to stay away from it. So it
Mm.
was kind of your fault."
Yeah.
And there is some causation.
And you
Yeah.
can like sue those people then. So if you were, for example, an expat working on one of these sites, which is very common
Mm-hmm.
for expats in other countries all over the world to be
Yeah.
working in construction or labor type jobs. And then, of course, if someone was just kind of walking past and was a victim or was injured by falling debris or something, that
Mm-hmm.
would also be a similar process of suing the person in charge, right? So you mean
Sure.
victims can sue for damage to the workers at the site and then claim for negligence and compensation, yeah?
Yes,
Mm.
that's right in theory, but however, as you may expect, filing a lawsuit and winning the case doesn't mean that you can recover the
Mm.
loss unless the defendant has funds. So even though
Right.
I sue the workers at the site, if they
Mm.
doesn't have enough money to pay back my
Mm-hmm.
loss, then it would mean it would not be kind of like meaningful winning because I cannot be paid.
Mm.
So, secondly, one can consider the construction company, a bigger
Right.
one who hired a subcontract company and had the obligation to supervise the whole demolition process.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
it's a kind of easier because they are a big company, they will have fund.
Mm.
So it's because the big companies have resource to compensate the damage.
Yeah.
So, if we can prove the big company, like the construction company, lacked proper supervision of the workers to
Mhm.
prevent such accident, like the victims can also hold them liable as well.
See, and I think that's probably I don't want to say the smart move because it's kind of such a difficult situation. We're talking
Mm,
about, a legal obligation to step up and take responsibility for damages that happen to people, which often can very sadly result in loss of life. But it
mhm.
is probably the smart move to recover any losses that have happened at a site to kind of go to the company that has the money to be able to cover that. Are there any other people that can seek a damage lawsuit?
Sure, we can think of a designated project supervisor who had to review the demolition plan with extra care through papers and also who had to be present at the site
Hmm.
to like
Mm-hmm.
review and supervise and oversee all the process.
Yeah.
So if he was not there or if he didn't pay much attention to go through all the papers, we could hold him also liable for this tragedy.
Right. Okay. So that would be a person, like one person, whoever had the title or whoever was responsible for that specific site management or whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
In
Um,
addition,
yeah.
if the demolition plan made certain errors in the beginning and the person like the certified architect or the engineer like recklessly reviewed the plan,
Mm.
then he can be also be liable for that.
Interesting. And I'm
Yes.
so sure that, like, I mean, it needs such huge investigation, right?
Mm-hmm, sure.
Yeah, okay. And so what about the GU office? Because the GU office are the ones that say, okay, yes, this is I mean, they give the permission. So if it's either 시청 or 구청 or 군청, they're the ones that have a look and then they give permission or they, don't give permission. Can they be held responsible?
Yep, if the coup office could have found such errors of the plans at the very beginning, but failed to do that because they didn't like reviewed it thoroughly,
Mm,
then we can also have them bear the responsibilities, even though it can be partial, but
mm.
they can be a kind like also a kind of group who should be responsible for the damage.
Yeah. And so then I have a question about that.
Mhm.
If, for example, one of our expats living either in Gwangju, in Busan, in Seoul, is a victim of this kind of accident, walking past a construction site and hit by debris, either resulting in injury or property damage, etc., or perhaps someone who works on a construction site and then is, again, part of an accident. What is the first move for people if they need to take it further to recover any loss?
First, I think the construction site manager might contact all the victims,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
And they will try to like pay for the medical bill. And
Mm,
also one thing is if they're going through this kind of like big project, they usually purchase the insurance to
yeah.
cover any like unforeseen accidents.
Mm-hmm.
So I think quite a lot of the damages can be covered or paid by such insurance coverage.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, what you need to worry about would be the damage that is not covered by
Right.
the insurance coverage. So, you can wait and see like how much you can get to be paid for your loss or
Mm-hmm.
your damage. And then if it does not reach your expectation, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when you can like kind of negotiate with the insurance company. Or if it doesn't work, then you can also file for damage loss,
Yeah.
saying that I
Okay.
didn't paid.
Yeah, I didn't get compensated enough
Mhm.
for the loss that I suffered. So the first step, would you phone the police or would you just go to the hospital and say this happened at this site? Or what would be, if, for example, if you're walking past, if you're a bystander and you get hit by debris, would you phone the police or just go straight to the hospital and kind of report what happened?
If you can walk, you can go to the hospital. But
Mm-hmm.
if you don't think you can move, if you need transportation, you can call 911
Mm-hmm.
for medical assistance.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and you might want later. You might want to check the CCTV installed nearby
Right.
to get yes to get any evidence.
Okay. That's really, really good advice. And of course, you can always contact you and you'll be able to help us, right?
Sure.
I certainly hope, of course, that, I mean, with such a tragic loss of life, what can be recovered from that, really? But anyone who has been affected by this kind of accident, I hope that people do get the compensation that they deserve. And on top of that, I hope that we can really find the underlying causes of these kind of tragic accidents and take the steps necessary to prevent them happening again. And I think that's the really important thing. So thank you so much for all this wonderful information today. And we will see you in 2 weeks.
Yes, I hope it helps, and thank you for having me.
It absolutely does help. And it's wonderful to see you again. I'll see you very soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
조심히 들어가세요. Thank
네.
you.